Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Hi, today we're sort of tagging off our last episode, which was part 2 about setting boundaries, and we're going to talk about timeout. To time out or not to time out? That is the question. We sort of touched upon it and decided it needed to be its own episode because it's really a hot topic right now. Do you hear people talking about it?
I really do, because I still know, I think so many people use timeout because they don't know what else to do necessarily. They think that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and it was done with a lot of people who are raising children now and who are teaching children now. But just because it was done in the past doesn't make it the absolute right thing to do. As we all know, I think we've all rejected things from prior generations. And I think this falls under the category of I think we know better now about how to handle behavior.
Yeah. Well, the thing with timeout that I always had an issue with is you're kind of putting a child in an area and then leaving him there. It doesn't, and then when the 2 minutes are up, you're like, okay, you can get up and go back to playing. But he didn't learn anything by you putting him in a corner or wherever it is for 2 minutes. He's not over there thinking for 2 minutes, oh man, maybe next time I should do this and I won't get it. No,
no, like, they're really not. They're, I one time I spoke, I'm going to fall on my parenting sword here. I have 2 kids who are both in their early 20s. So when I was raising them, timeout was the thing to do, right? And I'm going to just fall on the sword and say I sent my kids to timeout. I didn't know better. And I think it's one of those things that I just know better now. And I've spoken to my 2 children about it because I've also read some studies about the effects of timeout on young children. And I said to them, can you tell me how you felt when Dad or when I would send you to timeout? And both of them have said, well, I just sat and got madder. Yeah. And I just sat and got so frustrated and so mad. So what are they learning that way? Right. They're really not. But I'll tell you what children do learn, what I really believe, and this is what a lot of the research is showing. When you take 3, 4, or 5-year-old children or even, 6, 7, 8-year-old children, and you basically say to them, I'm upset with what you did. You're upset. I'm upset. Now go away from me. When they are 14, 15, 16 years old, when we want them to come to us and tell us what's going on with their friends or what's going on socially, and it's something they think we may get upset about, you know where they go? They go away from me, right? They go to their room. They go somewhere else because we taught them that when they were little. We have to own that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and that's just so sad that at a young age they weren't brought to you. They were kind of pushed away. It's like I behaved poorly, so now my mom doesn't like me for 5 minutes. And instead it should be,
or is not safe, or my mom is not safe. It's not safe to be with these people or talk to these people. I have to go and be alone. I don't want to teach children that. I want, especially in today's world, with all that goes on with our teenagers in today's world, I want them to know from the time they're very young that there are a couple of people in their lives who are really, really safe for them to go to. And we may not like what you did, but we're still your safe people. And I think those people are their most important adults at home, whoever is raising them, and their teachers. They have to know that people in school are safe for them.
Yes. And I think kids don't necessarily feel that way. It's hard. Like we talked about in that first podcast, you have to build this trust, with your teacher. And the parent needs to build a trust with the teacher too, so that when something happens at school, I'm the person that they can go to. And when something happens at home, they're the person that they can go to. So, but you have to teach them that because they don't know at a young age who they should be trusting and who they shouldn't be trusting. They have no idea. So when you push them away, they're like, well, I guess I can't talk to her about how I'm feeling because I just, hit a kid. I hit one of my friends because I was feeling mad and now I have nobody to talk to about it.
Right. And that's what we're telling them. We're telling them, don't come talk to me.
Yeah,
I'm
don't
so
talk
upset
to me.
with you. I don't want to talk with you. Sometimes when I talk about this when I'm facilitating a parent education group or talking to a group of teachers at a professional development session, and I get really down to the nitty-gritty of the messages we send children about if we're safe people, about how the world will react to their mistakes. What messages are we sending them when we say to them, now go sit over there and be alone and stew in your frustration? People tend to get very upset. I've had parents start to cry in the sessions. I've had, teachers just looking really guilty and upset. So I want to send this message out there that, we all learn as we go along. And as Alison and I are talking about this, it's okay to realize what you've been doing may not be the best thing for the young children and how they view the world, and we can change it. I'm not saying that we don't do things certainly to harm children on purpose, hopefully.
Right.
But we sometimes need to change. You don't know what you don't know, but once you know, you can improve.
Yeah.
And I think this episode of the podcast is like, once you know, you can improve. And sending children into isolation sends all of the wrong messages.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we're saying, I don't think there's any parent out there that's putting their kid in timeout and thinking it's so sad when you're in those workshops and they have that realization. They're not doing it. They just think that's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? They think, I know there's a lot of people who said, well, they had to have consequences to their actions.
Yes, they do.
I
agree with that. But the consequences have to make sense. You made a big mistake, so I'm going to send you to be isolated and sit in your own frustration and away from me because I don't want to talk to you right now, or you shouldn't be talking to me right now. I'm not even sure what that message is.
Right. There's people that are, even in prison, you're not isolated like that unless you do something extreme.
Some people
you have to do something extremely wrong. They give you a chance first. They give you a chance first before they put you in isolation. Well, no, because you're with a roommate.
Are you?
Yes.
You seem to know about this.
No, not from experience. I'm just saying when you're in that environment, you're with other people until you're not able to be with other people anymore, and then they put you in isolation. So if prisoners who are criminals who they made wrong choices, if they still are they're separated from their family, but they're still with other prisoners. You know what I mean? They're not completely separated from everyone. But when you put a child in timeout and you just leave them there for
it's like
5 minutes or whatever it is, you put them in isolation, and
why am I putting them in solitude? Let's do the prison thing. Why am I? Let's go with it. We're going to go with what you said. Why am I putting a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old in solitary confinement? Why am I doing that?
Why?
There's just no good reason. And in fact, if I bring them over to me and I say to the child, you need to come over here. You need to come over here. You need to leave what you're doing right now is a natural consequence of their behavior, right? You're over there. You're not behaving over there in a way that's acceptable. So you need to leave that right now. And I say to them, come over here, sit by me. What they learn is even when I'm upset with their behavior, being near me is the thing to do.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, the whole goal of any consequence or boundary that you set is to teach the child what is an acceptable way to behave. So by putting them into isolation, you're not teaching them anything. You're just teaching them it's okay to leave. It's okay to separate. And instead, if you bring them to you, now you have an opportunity to discuss what happened.
Right. I've heard some people call this time in, by the way. Versus time out.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah, I've heard some people say it's time in, that you need to come and sit by me for a few minutes. Everyone's going to calm down, me and you. We're both going to calm down, and then we're going to talk about this. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with looking at young children and saying, come and sit over here by me, get them over near you, and then just say, I need a minute before we talk about it.
Yeah.
I need a minute. Because then what they learn to do when they're upset is look at you and say, I need a minute.
Yeah, and that's an okay way to deal with your emotions.
Yeah, it's a coping mechanism to say, I need to take a breath. Yeah. I need a minute. But please have them near you and don't send them into this isolation that is just psychologically really harming to them. That, like I said, when you know better, you do better. And now hopefully most people know better. So when a child does something and you need to take them out, which is a natural consequence, take them out of what they're doing, put them in a seat right near you. If you're in your kitchen cooking, pull up a chair right near you. If you're sitting at your dining room table paying bills, have them come and sit in the chair right next to you.
Yeah. Because they want to be with their friends or with their toys. So that's the consequence right there. Is just taking them away from that.
Oh yeah, it's a consequence.
They don't need to be put in a corner or in there or sent to their room, whatever it is. That's the consequence right there. So if you're one that thinks like, oh, but there has to be a consequence to his action, that is the consequence.
That is a consequence. You can't be over there with that toy with those people. That is a consequence. And you can extend the consequence because you can say to them after you're done explaining to them that what they did, that they need to be kind. Here's how we're kind. What should we do next time? Once you've had the discussion with them, then you can still extend that consequence. You can say to them, well, I really don't want you to go back over there right now. We need to take time to do something else. Let's decide, do you want to color or do you want to read a book? But we're not going over there right now.
Yeah, you need to take a break from blocks.
Right.
That's what I usually say. You need to take a break from them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to them, that's a huge consequence, by the way.
It is. It is, because they're now not doing exactly what they want. They want to play blocks, and they're coloring, and that was their choice, but that's not their number one choice. So.
Right. It would be like if I was using my iPad, which I love, and I somehow misbehaved, and someone said to me, well, you can't use the iPad right now. I would be upset about that. Same thing, if we put it sort of in an adult context. But we do know better now about sending them away from us, and the message that it sends is not the message that you want children to have as they get older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we're running out of time again, Allison.
Okay. Oh my God. How does this happen?
I don't know. We talk. I hope that people who are listening to this podcast are subscribing and telling their friends and their colleagues and their coworkers to subscribe to it. We do release episodes every other week is our current schedule. If you're listening to this podcast, sometimes way in the future, I don't know if we're going to change that. But generally speaking, who knows? Generally speaking, we are releasing episodes about every other week. So please do subscribe. And you can also contact us. You can reach me. This is Cindy. You can reach me through my website, which is helpingkidsachieve.com. You can email Alison too. You can go ahead, Alison. What's your email address again?
My email is AlisonJoy79@gmail.com.
Right. And please do subscribe and recommend us to other people. We're going to continue to talk about topics that really matter to people who are raising or work with young children. Thanks for joining us.